This is the first of several videos in a hopefully successful series of readings of The Valley of Vision, a collection of Puritan prayers and devotions. If you're like me and you absorb things better when you follow along while listening to something, then I encourage you to purchase this book for yourself. I'll put the link in the description box below. Other than that, I believe that this book would be an excellent addition to any Christian's library, and I encourage you to add it to yours. This first video is going to be a reading of the preface and the opening poem. So the next video will be the first reading of the first actual Puritan prayer. The preface gives a history behind the Puritans and this book specifically. So let's begin. Preface. The prayers in this book are drawn from the largely forgotten deposit of Puritan spiritual exercises, meditations, and aspirations. They testify to the richness and color of evangelical thought and language that animated vital piety in an important stream of English religious life. It is hoped that their publication will help to redress the neglect of this vast ocean of Puritan spirituality. The Puritan movement was a religious phenomenon of the 16th and 17th centuries. Yet its influence continued at least to the time of Charles Haddon Spurgeon, 1834 to 92. Who may be regarded as the last of the great Puritans. Although the political storm ended in 1660, its theological groundswell carried forward distinct forms of practical religion for many decades, particularly family worship and private devotion. In these spheres, and in that of the authority of Scripture over the whole of life, New England Presbyterians and Congregationalists were at one with English dissenters and Anglican evangelicals in a close-knit union that transcended differences of worship, discipline, and polity. They spoke the same spiritual language, shared the same code of values, adopted the same attitude towards the Christian religion, and breathed out the same God-centered aspirations in a manner that makes it impossible to distinguish the voice of conformist from that of nonconformist. Thus, this book of Puritan prayers has a unity not often found in similar works. The strength of Puritan character and life lay in the practice of prayer and meditation. Many of those who held the doctrines of grace wrote down a record of God's intimate dealings with their souls, not with an eye to publication, but, as in David Brainerd's case, to test their spiritual growth and to encourage themselves by their reperusal in times of low spiritual fervor. Others, like William J. and Henry Law, turned their personal devotions into corporate forms for family worship and published them to the church at large. Yet others, such as Philip Doddridge and William Romaine, wrote prayers into their literary works in order to evoke the reader's spiritual response. Many ministers went further and advised their congregations to put their private prayer thoughts on paper and vocalize them. There thus emerged an important corpus of inspiring Puritan prayers that are still largely unused. In extracting this selection from Puritan literature, it has been necessary to change some prayers from the plural and third person into the singular and first person in order that the book might be used chiefly in private devotion. But by a change of pronoun, most of them can be employed in corporate worship. A final section has been added for occasions of corporate worship. Old idiom has been retained, but it has been necessary to reframe some phrases in order to accommodate archaic thought to modern understanding. A number of prayers were originally spiritual experiences, as in the case of Thomas Shepard, and some others are conflations from different sources to bind together a given theme. A poetic form has been adopted throughout as an aid to easier comprehension and utterance. Each prayer consists of a number of main clauses with subsidiary clauses that illuminate and enlarge the subject. In this way, an opportunity is provided for pauses and reflections. The editor is thus responsible for the structure of the prayers as here printed. The book is not intended to be read as a prayer manual. The soul learns to pray by praying, for prayer's communion with the transcendent and immanent God, who is on the ground of his nature and attributes calls forth all the powers of the redeemed soul in acts of total adoration and dedication. The prayers should therefore be used as aspiration units, the several parts of which could become springboards for the individual's own prayer subjects. These and their divisions can also serve homiletic purposes. The prayers are taken from the works of Thomas Shepard, Thomas Watson, Richard Baxter, John Bunyan, Isaac Watts, William Williams, Philip Doddridge, William Romaine, David Brainerd, Augustus Toplady, Christmas Evans, William J., Henry Law, and Charles Haddon Spurgeon. They are sent out with the prayer of Philip Doddridge that, however weak and contemptible this work may seem in the eyes of the children of this world, and however imperfect it really be, it may nevertheless live before thee, and through a divine power be mighty to produce the rise and progress of religion. I desire to thank the Reverend Ian H. Murray and of the Banner of Truth Trust for his encouragement to produce this work, Mr. S. M. Houghton, many of whose kindly criticisms have been accepted, and the Reverend R. E. Davies, who helped to resolve theological points. I am grateful to the trustees of the British Museum, Dr. Williams's Library, and the Evangelical Library for access to out-of-print books. Arthur Bennett. Opening poem. The Valley of Vision. Lord high and holy, meek and lowly, thou hast brought me to the valley of vision, where I live in the depths but see thee in the heights. Hemmed in by mountains of sin, I behold thy glory. Let me learn by paradox that the way down is the way up, that to be low is to be high, that the broken heart is the healed heart, that the contrite spirit is the rejoicing spirit, that the repenting soul is the victorious soul, that to have nothing is to possess all, that to bear the cross is to wear the crown, that to give is to receive, that the valley is the place of vision. Lord, in the daytime stars can be seen from the deepest wells, and the deeper the wells, the brighter thy stars shine. Let me find that light in my darkness, thy life in my death, thy joy in my sorrow, thy grace in my sin, thy riches in my poverty, thy glory in my valley.